What's going on, guys, and welcome to Anteiku Nation, where we game and we know things. And today we're going to take a look at another Vanguard Overdress Starter Deck with Tyrant Tiger Donji Mamayama's new Balanced Bruce deck. This is a very powerful starter deck. It has a lot of cool features in it, and I'd like to go over it. Before we begin, guys, please hit that like button if you like this video, smash that subscribe button, and click the bell so that you can be notified each and every time that I upload a brand new video. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Anteiku Nation. This is going to be our part 2 of our Vanguard Overdress Start Deck profiles. Today we're going to take a look at Donji Mamayama's Tyrant Tiger, aka Dark State, aka Violence Bruce starter deck. We saw this deck explode in episode 1, although we did not really get to flesh out the mechanics and what all this deck is capable of doing. But we did see that it is a juggernaut of a deck. So if we look real quickly, guys, like we did with our Keter Sanctuary deck, we're going to look at the contents, what's inside this box and what you get. So looking real quickly on the bag, it does state that this is a starter deck. It is a Dark State. It also gives you the content list of what is in this box as far as the deck goes. It lets you know there are 2 new mechanics, the Ride deck and the Over Trigger. Though I would beg to differ that there's actually 3 new mechanics, because it doesn't tell you that there's also Persona Ride, which I did fail to mention in the previous deck profile video going over the box opening of the Keter Sanctuary deck. So we will touch on that in this video. Real quick though, if you're looking for like any advanced rulings, guides, and questions and answers to that, you can click with your phone. You can scan this, rather not click. Scan this barcode, guys, so that you can pull up the website that has all that information. So it'll give you like, you know, rundown of questions, answers that people have, you know, most popularly asked Bushiroad, as well as, you know, the advanced rules and things like that. It does give you a brief history of the card game itself, so it's kind of cool that they did that. But on the inside, the only thing that you are going to get is going to be the deck itself and a playmat. Generic, get these in every trial deck. Just gives you the values of the triggers, also shows you all the layouts of the field, the rear guards, Vanguard circle, drop zones, all that cool stuff. So real quick, we're going to look at the Ride decks. This is going to be the main focus of the deck itself. So let's look at our starter, if I can get a hold to it. It's going to be Diablo's Innocent Matt. So he has no other effect other than the fact that when this unit is rode upon, if you went second, you may draw a card. So again, it's just keep kind of balance, keep the fairness of the game. That way, you know, you're not being punished for the turn that you do or do not get to start on. So second is going to be our grade 1 Diablo's Bad Steve. So when this unit is placed on the Vanguard, you may choose a card from your soul called to the back row center, rear guard, and soul charge 1. So basically, this is just kind of it's an okay ability. Like, it takes the starter out of the soul. So basically, you ride him, you pull him out, then you soul charge 1 from the deck, and you know, it does a thing, because the next card is going to actually put the starter back into the soul. So like, the starter doesn't completely go away. He does have a rear guard ability. If you're in Final Rush, he gets plus 5k. This card's okay. He's not that great. Like, once you can actually further this deck, you're not really going to use him. We will talk about that in another segment of this video, guys. So if you are looking to just see how to further advance this deck and the cards you want to use in tournament play, go ahead and look down the description. I have a timestamp there that you can use to skip ahead. Next up is going to be our grade 2. This is going to be Diablo's Anger Richard. If I can get the camera to focus in on him. There we go. When this unit is placed, Vanguard, put a rear guard into your soul, and you draw a card. So basically, that, again, that starter that you pulled out on your turn 1 or your grade 1 ride, you're just going to put him back into the soul, so that you can draw a card. So it's just kind of funny how like they play around with the starter in a sense. Then he's got a rear guard ability. If you're in Final Rush, he gets plus 5k. So same thing we saw with a grade 1. Again, if you're in Final Rush, gets plus 5k. For the starter deck, it's not bad. It allows you to make some powerful columns. It allows you to kind of like strip cards. But I don't think you'll be using this guy too much in the actual deck itself, because there's just better options than this guy. So yeah, now let's look at the all-star of this deck. That is going to be the man himself, Diablo's Violence Bruce. This is the card that we saw in episode 1, and they animated it perfectly. He looked like a juggernaut on fire, just kind of coming into the field, blowing everything up, and It was amazing. So at the start of your ride phase, you can final rush. So specific units get a power up when you're in final rush. So basically, you're not going to be able to get final rush the turn that you ride him because it says at the start of your ride phase. So at the start of your ride phase, you're not even on him. But on turn 4 is when this deck finally starts to go off, because you cannot achieve final rush unless you are on Diablo's Violence Bruce. Now, his next ability is what makes him devastatingly powerful and what you want to aim for. When this unit attacks, if you're in final rush, you may Soul Blast 5, yes 5, and stand all of your front row rear guards. So you want to be able to pump up your soul leading up to that turn 4, so that once you can go off with final rush, you can start punishing your opponent. This is just really good with the other cards that it combos with, especially with the units and the booster set 1 that just capitalize on this guy's ability and punishes your opponent while you're in final rush. So like basically every start of your turn after turn 4 or during turn 4 onwards, you're going to be declaring final rush so that you can keep just those final rush abilities on and just keep trying to hammer away and, you know, punish your opponent with this deck. Now going forward, let's look at the units first. We'll go units, triggers, and then orders. So we've got 1, 2, 3 other copies of Bruce. Now what I wanted to touch on real quick, guys, and I said this earlier in the video, was this icon right here. Okay, this is the persona ride. So basically, when you ride another copy over it, as long as it's the same one, it's got the icon. Okay, it's got that persona ride icon. Okay, this is going to give a plus 10k bonus. Okay, this is going to power up your rear guard. It's going to power up your Vanguard, and it just does what it does. This is just a way to kind of be beefy for a turn. And I mean, especially on those turns when you're final rushing, like that's pretty powerful. That's pretty damn powerful. It's kind of like having the gift markers, only the gift doesn't stay. The persona ride ability just doesn't stay. It's only for one turn, so it's not as like it's not as overly dramatic or punishing as it was with V series, where we had the gift markers and we just kept these insane numbers all on the board, and it was just some crazy shenanigans. I think this is more fair. A one turn only is pretty fair. So anyway, looking at our next grade 3, we have Time Fishing Fist Colossus. So when this unit is placed on the rear guard, you may soul charge 1. Then if you're in final rush, you may counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 15k until the end of turn. So I mean, again, if you're on that turn where you final rush and you have persona ridden, if you will, like this dude's gonna be bonkers powerful. And the fact that like you wanted him on the rear guard, so like if you had 2 of them out and you had counterblast, because this deck doesn't really use counterblast, and let's just go ahead and do Magic Christmas Land right here, which is really not Magic Christmas Land. This is pretty much your ideal play. You're going to want these guys on the front, so you swing. Now you got options, like if they got something menacing on their rear guard, yeah, sure, go ahead and take out the rear guard. But if died and you want to just keep stripping hands for days and punish them, then swing, and then soul blast. All of a sudden these guys stand back up, like, and they still have their power. So like, because it says until end of turn, so that's 23. Let's just say you persona rod, then they just get even beefier. You hit a trigger, they're even beefier. Like, these guys are pretty punishing. The only problem is that like when you actually advance the deck, no, you're probably not going to have these guys anymore. Like, they're good, but they're not that great, because there's just other options. But still, in Magic Christmas Land, you know, that's kind of some of a scenario that you can look at. Going up into our grade 2s, we do have more of the ride deck grade 2, the other 3 copies. Again, if you're in final rush, he gets plus 5k. Like, he's a 15k beater. He makes columns. Like, if you've got an 8k behind him, that's 23k column. So they're gonna have to chuck you know, at least what, 15k worth of shield out of their hand to block that, because they're at least 15k to block it, unless this thing's powered up by like the persona ability or a trigger or something like that. It does stuff. It does things. Not much to say about it. Next up is going to be this grade 2, Icicle Einizer, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He's just a 10k vanilla, so there's really not much here. He's got 5k intercept ability. That's it. Like, or shield value, shouldn't say ability. It's just, there's not much to say about it. He is a 10k vanilla. Now this guy is one you're actually going to keep. He's actually pretty good. I dare say you probably need a 4th copy of it. I hate that I don't, so you know, it's whatever. Actually, I do. So Steam Gunner Brody. When this unit is put on the Guardian Circle, you may counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 5k shield until the end of that battle. So like he puts in work like that. Plus 5k is going to give you a 10k shield, and since there are no 10k shield values in here now, he just kind of helps you to defend. So like, you know, if you only need a 15k shield, instead of having to ditch out a 15k shield, you know, if you didn't have it or you wanted to conserve it, you could just ditch him and maybe this, you know, for 1 counterblast, because again, you're not using counterblast a whole lot, but he's pretty powerful at what he does to help, you know, defend you when need be. Next up, we do have more Diablos Bad Steve. Again, same as our grade 2, just when you're in final rush, he gets plus 5k. That's not bad. So that's 13. So Magical Christmas Land. Let's just look at our grade 2 real quick. You know, if this was a column, which I mean, it probably will be a column, then you've got 15, you've got 13. So now you're swinging for 28. So that's a magic number, because now they've got to dish out even more shield. And I mean, it can go even further than that, depending on the state of the game. If you hit triggers, if you hit the over trigger, if you've, you know, persona ridden, whatever you want to do, like it does build magical columns that can be quite punishing. Now next up, this little dude is actually going to stay in the deck even after you've tweaked it. He's really good at what he does, but you can overuse him, so be mindful of how much you use this guy. And that's going to be Acrobat Presenter. Does kind of call back to you know, Pale Moon, which is kind of cool, because you know, Dark State is all about having all the different clan types that were, you know, we previously saw leading up into Overdress, like Pale Moon, Darker Rags, you know, Gear Chronicle, Spikes, all that cool stuff. Anyway, so Rear Guard, when this unit attacks or it boosts, if your Vanguard's Diablo's Violence Bruise, which it will be, you may soul charge 1. If you're in final rush, you may soul charge again. So he feels the soul. So basically he's going to be fueling that 5 soul cost that Bruce wants. Bruce wants soul so he can activate his ability. There's not much to say about that. Next up is going to be Psychic Prisma Miranda. So this chick right here is just our PG. Not much to say about it. It's typical old school PGs. There's no new ability. If you want the new Dark State ability, then you're going to need, or a new PG, then you're going to want to look at the booster set 1, Genesis of the 5 Grace, get the new PGs. Now the new PGs are really cool because they state that if you have 2 or more cards, then you may discard. So basically, if you only have a PG, or let's look at it this way, if I got 2 PGs, I don't have to discard. I just PG. I'm down to 1 card. I PG again. So like this can save you matches. A lot better than what it used to be, you know, with these, because this I'll always have to discard a card in order to activate the ability, whereas with the new ones, not always the case. Looking at triggers, this is the generic over trigger that comes in every starter deck. So you may only have 1 trigger in the deck that is an over trigger. Okay, when this card is revealed as a damage, it kind of nullifies it, because this card is removed from the damage zone and it lets you draw a card in its place. And you get to give your Vanguard, or choose one of your units, it says, and give it plus 100 million. So it has to be Vanguard. It's going to be your Vanguard, because if you hit this thing and like they're just starting their turn, this pretty much says you're not hitting me for the remainder of the turn unless they hit their over trigger. So this is just another way to defend yourself. It's also really good, like if this is your 6th damage, then it's another way. Think of it as another heal. It's like a 5th heal, because this is going to nullify that damage, and then for your Vanguard is like beefy as all hell, and they can't hit you anymore. So that's really good. Now during your drive check, it says you can choose one of your units and it gets plus 100 million until end of turn. What I'm not sure about, and maybe you guys can let me know in the description below, is that this thing gives 100 million, but then it says additional effects, choose one of your units. So I'm assuming that this thing gives a Vanguard, and then maybe, you know, maybe you give 2 units, maybe you get 2 of your rear guards, the 100 million instead of just your Vanguard or something like that. So at least that's the way that I'm reading it. I believe that may be the case. You can also give another unit other than, let's just say, your Vanguard the 100 million power. Next up is going to be 4 crit. Crits are good. We want crits. I would even dare say probably go up to either 6 to 8 crit in the deck. The other crit is going to be in Genesis of the 5 Greats, like 10 cents on TCG Player, so it's not too bad to get you a playset for like 40 cents. But crits are good, and I say 6 to 8 because I'm a fan of having hand in Vanguard due to how the game works, having shield. So like one of my favorite ratios for triggers was always 6 crit, 6 draw, 4 heal. That may not be the case now because we do run front triggers, so that does take up a spot, and we do have the over trigger. So it's gonna be interesting how I decide to play around with my trigger lineup going forward, as I did not play much of V format to actually get more acquainted with the shield values. We do have the front trigger. It's gonna be Diablos Officer Killian. She's pretty cool. Really love the artwork and the colors on this card. I apologize, I didn't mean for it to be that far up. So she has a 15k shield. She gives 10k to the front, so basically everything in the front is going to get plus 10k once you hit this trigger, and that's pretty bonkers on those turns where you've persona ridden, you know, you're in final rush, you're getting the final rush bonuses. So like I'm kind of a fan of front triggers in this deck. Time will tell whether or not they're viable or not, because you may just want to run crits and draws just so you can keep getting to your resources, keep your hand plentiful, and be able to get the pieces that you need. So we'll see. Maybe a hyper aggressive deck maybe wants front triggers. I'm not sure. It does run 4 draw in the starter deck. I really like this dude's artwork. It's pretty chill. Diablos Boys Jake is pretty actually cool in my opinion. And it's really funny because I was never really a Spike Brothers player, but this deck has really made me a believer in Violence Bruce. It does only have a 5k shield value, so that's kind of disappointing. It's the weakest of the shields of the triggers lineup, so there is that, but it does net you advantage by also getting to your resources faster. So that's that. We are running 4 heals because we don't like to die. I remember back in the day that there was actually a DP deck that ran nothing but crits. It was a very high rolling, very punishing deck that just was like crits for days. But we're not trying to do that here. We like to live because games don't always go our way. But yeah, it's just standard 4 heal. You know, it's got 15k shield value. Pretty cool card. Really like the artwork on it. Diablos girl Ariana. So pretty cool. Last up is going to be our order. So our order is actually a grade 1. And it just simply says you may soul charge 2. And that's going to be Brother's Soul. Keep in mind though, when you're deck building, these do take up unit slots. So like if you're not familiar with that, orders are like spell cards in a sense. So they take up a unit slot. So these take up 3 grade 1 unit slots. Whereas like you've seen in the previous video with Keter Sanctuary, it takes up grade 3 slots, which is fine because for that deck it wants to run grade 3s. So like it's actually works in its favor, and there's a lot of synergy. This is just a lot of synergy in the fact that Bruce, wherever Bruce got off to, let me see, Bruce wants soul, you know, Bruce wants 5 soul. So you play this, you soul charge 2, just kind of helps fuel it. It also works in conjunction with our Acrobat presenter, if I can talk, where he's going to soul charge you if you're in final rush. You soul charge another one, so that's 2, that's 4. So problem is you don't want to deck out. Like you can easily try to over soul charge by trying to keep Bruce's ability live by decking out, because you've just got too much stuff going on at one time and just like I've decked out. So yeah guys, that is all that I have for the starter deck. This is a really fun deck. It is very powerful for what it does, but there are ways to capitalize on it, obviously, and set 1 Genesis of the 5 Greats. So be sure to check out TCG Player. Also, guys, if you would, check out my boy 50 Card. He's where I've gotten most of my supplies. He provided me with all my structure decks that we will be going over. So be sure and check him out. I have a link in the description below for his website. And if you would, guys, please give this video a like and a thumbs up. It helps me help you keep growing the channel. And if you're ready, guys, let's go ahead into the next segment of our advanced format for this deck, going into tournament mode. Alright guys, welcome to the next segment of this video, and this is where we go over the deck modifications that you can use to make this a tournament ready deck. And we're going to be looking at Dark States, Diablos, Boys, Eden. This is one of the MVPs of the deck, and we're going to touch on that for a second. So He states that rearguard circle, if you're in final rush, this unit gets power plus 5,000, and if this unit stands during this turn by a card effect, aka Violence Bruce, he gains a crit. So not only is he getting the power, but when he stands again, which he will as long as you're getting off that Soul Blast ability from Violence Bruce, he's going to be getting the crit, making this a very big pressuring piece on the turn that you go into final rush. Also, he states that when this unit attacks, hits, you may counterblast one, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and retire it. So not only is he threatening for crit, but he's also threatening to retire one of their rear guards. And that's actually pretty dang powerful. He has a rarity triple rare, which he's very deserving. I think he sits around $10 to $12 depending on the state of TCG player. Depends on the day and the time. It's almost like the stock market. But he's definitely worthy of the price tag that comes with him because he is such a powerful piece, and you definitely want to slot him into the deck. That ability to just gain the power from Final Rush, gain the power from Persona Ride, you know, maybe gain some power from a trigger if a trigger hits, and then he's also swinging with a natural crit is just deadly, super deadly. Like, they're going to be PGing him or just dishing out shield, depending on the state of the game, to keep him from hitting. So yeah, awesome card. Next up, we do have Upward Acrobat Marjorie. So she's really cool. Calls back to Pale Moon. Definitely get that Pale Moon vibe from her. She's another grade 3, though you will not be using her for the Vanguard purpose. You want to keep Bruce on your Vanguard when it comes to this deck and how it works, because you want that final rush, because she, as well as Eden, work with the final rush. So rearguard once per turn. When this unit attacks, if you're in final rush, which you should be, put one of your other rearguards into your soul. You draw a card, soul charge 1, and this unit gets power plus 10,000. Now there's a lot going on with this card when you look at it, because what she's doing is she's fueling Bruce. She's allowing you to keep that soul up for Bruce, so that every turn, once turn 4 hits, you can keep going into final rush. I mean, keep that, or not going into final rush, but you can keep his soul blast thing going, because he requires a lot of soul in order to get the stand-up ability while he's in final rush, so you can, you know, restand your rear guard units. And so again, when this unit attacks, if you're in final rush, you put something else into the soul, you soul charge once, so it's 2 cards going in, and she gets power plus 10,000. So, you know, when she restands, she's going to be 23 if it's on that Persona Ride turn. She's going to be 33 by herself, and that is very powerful. She's super cheap. She's a double rare, so she's like maybe like $1.25, $2 maybe, if that. So playset of her is probably like around $4 to $8, depending on how much you end up paying for. But she's super cheap and very worthy of a grade 3 slot. Next up is going to be the Dark States Over Trigger. So Hades, Dragon Deity of Resentment, Galmagag. I'm not even sure how the heck I'm supposed to pronounce that, so I do apologize. I just murdered his name, but we're going to call him Dragon Deity of Resentment, because that's just a lot easier. Anyway, as we all know, over triggers are unique to each nation. Inside of Booster Set 1, Genesis of the 5 Greats, so every nation got their own unique over trigger. So it's pretty cool. It does still give the 100 million power bonus to the Vanguard, whether it's damaged or whether this is drive checked, and it does remove itself from the game once it's drive checked or damage checked. And if it's damage checked, you know, it gets nullified the damage, so it just removes itself. You draw a card, but on the turn that you drive check it, it gets an additional effect which is unique. During your turn, all of your Vanguards get power plus 10k and a crit until the end of this fight. So it's not until the end of turn, not until the end of battle, but for the remainder of the game. So if you drive check this on grade 1, the rest of the match, every Vanguard from that point on is going to always be plus 10k and a crit. It doesn't quite seem as explosive as some of the other ones, because they just do a lot of different things. This is more of like a testament of time type deal, because it's just like every turn you're going to be threatening with that crit, and at first it may not seem that bad, but I mean, it's almost like sitting on MLB, if you would, where every turn it's got a crit, or, you know, maybe it's like Dayusha or something like that, where it's always got the crit. You know, you're always threatening for that pressure, and that's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. It's still only a 1-of, so how often will you see it? I'm not sure. Not sure. Maybe the Vanguards will be able to smile upon you and you'll hit this thing pretty frequently. Maybe you can be pressuring with 10k and a crit many turns. Who knows? But it is pretty cool. Love the artwork. Next up is going to be our new PG. Again, you can find this inside of Genesis of the 5 Greats. These are new PGs. They're only rare, so like they swing anywhere between $3 to $4, $5 depending. Like, no, I've not seen anything actually. I don't know if I've seen $5. I know I've seen $3 to $4 depending on the PG. But these are pretty cool because the new text on it says that if your hand has 2 or more cards, then you can discard a card from your hand to activate. Meaning, as I stated earlier, that if you have this and maybe just one other card, you don't have to discard. Or maybe you got 2 PGs in hand, so then you only have to drop the PG and you still get to keep another PG. And that kind of gives you a little bit more of a lasting ability to stay in the game because, you know, in the past, if you only had this and one other card, then you had to ditch this in the card in order to PG, and then you were just, you know, you're out of hand. But in this case, you can now find yourself in situations where I can PG, and maybe that keeps you in the game a little bit longer. Maybe that gives you a little bit of lasting to be able to turn the game around in your favor if you found yourself in a bad spot. So I'm a huge fan of this new text and how the PGs work. So go ahead and pick up your copies of these. Next up is going to be this bad boy right here. This is going to be Steam Valor Gungram. He really calls back to the Gear Chronicle clan, which if you're familiar with Vanguard, there's a lot of Gear Chronicle fans out there. I myself love the artwork because it's very steampunkish. So anyway, this is a grade 1. When this unit is placed on the rear guard circle, you may soul charge 1. So again, this is fueling Bruce's ability, which is always good. Once per turn cost, you may soul blast 3 and draw a card. Now there are ways you can kind of set yourself up to like soul charge pretty frequently in this deck, as we've seen with the presenter grade 1 card, and with this card and other cards like with the grade 3. So there's ways to set your soul up to keep drawing, or to build up the soul, so that not only do you have resources to use Bruce's ability, but you have resources to actually draw a card. And sometimes, you know, drawing that extra card might be what you need for either shield value. Maybe you get a PG, maybe you get another persona ride, maybe you get another piece of the puzzle that helps you to build a better board state so that you can just go in there and finish off your opponent. So that extra draw does kind of come in handy. I mean, he is an 8k booster at that, and he's a 5k shield, so like he does have little things going on for him to make him a very worthwhile card. And I believe he sits at around $8 to $9. He is a double rare. I'm actually kind of surprised at the price tag on him for that, but I mean, he is a good piece because of what he does with that on play soul charge. It's just really good because of what the deck does and wants to do. So yeah, good stuff. Next up is going to be Protobulb Dragon. Now, this card is a rare, but it swings for about $2 on TCG Player. I haven't really seen it dip below $2 that I can recall. So anyway, he's a grade 1 8k that says, on rear guard, when this unit attack or boosts, if you are in final rush, which you most of the time you should be, counterblast 1 and put another rear guard into your soul. And you choose a card from your soul, put it into your hand. Now this is good. This is really good because this allows you to pull out, let's say you soul charge Bruce. This allows you to get Bruce back, okay? This allows you to persona ride again. Let's say you soul charge the PG. This allows you to pull out the PG and put it into your hand. You know, it does things. It's not only a booster, it's not only a little bit of a shield there, but it's allowing you to fuel Bruce's ability because you counterblast 1, you put another rear guard in soul, so you're soul charging, and you pull something out. Now you would probably say, well, he kind of omits the soul charge because, or negates it because like he is pulling card out, and that's true, but it's the trade-off. And that, even though this is like a Gear Chronicle style card, it almost feels like to me more of like a Pale Moon type card, because you're seeing that ability to put something into the soul and take something out. In this case, you get to put it into your hand and not onto the field, and that's really cool to be able to be versatile and utilize your soul, not just cards in your hand or the cards on the field and stuff like that, but also, you know, utilize your soul. So a lot of good things with this card. There are probably other cards I haven't looked at yet, but I think for the most part, going into tournament ready decks with Dark States, Violence, Bruce, these are the cards that you want to start looking at in order to modify the deck if you haven't already. Maybe if you're new to Vanguard and you don't know what you're looking for, and you're like, oh god, I really want to like play Dark State, and I really want to play Violence Bruce, and I want to get the most bang for my buck, then these are going to be the cards for you to go for. Diablos Boys Eden, Upward Acrobat Marjorie, your Hades Dragon Deity of Resentment, your Overtrigger. You're going to be looking for your new PG, your Hate Dragon, your Steam Battler, and your Protobulb Dragon. So these are the cards that are going to get you where you want to be to push this deck for tournament purposes. And I hope you guys have found this segment of the video helpful. If you would, guys, please leave some thoughts and comments down below. Let me know what I could do differently or things you may want to see in future videos like these that I could do for you guys to keep pushing out information and to be a reliable source for all things Vanguard Overdress. And as always, guys, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me help you and keep making more content and grow the channel. And also, guys, as always, please stay strong, stay healthy, and happy gaming.